All right, good evening, everybody. I am Doug Richards. Last time I did an open mic, I think I was still playing in a punk rock band, so the good news is I could do 2 songs in 5 minutes in those days. I'm sure I can get your point across tonight. All right, so artificial intelligence. Let's talk about who I am and where I come from. I am the owner of a consulting company called Smart Factory. We've been in business for almost 20 years. We are a very boutique consulting company. We specialize in essentially scale to sell. So we grow companies from millions of dollars to billions of dollars and help them go to market. That's specifically what we do. So my background is in technology, but from my background in technology, I spend a lot of time with executives. And the one thing I can tell you right now with absolute certainty is executives across the landscape feel like they are losing control. AI is terrifying to the executive. They don't know how they're going to keep employees. We don't know how we're going to do training. We don't know about security. There are a lot of things that we have a lot of fear around. A lot of what you've heard people talk about tonight. Data security, privacy, ethical practices, all of those things. At the executive level, and I have the good fortune to present to somewhere between 12 and 20 boards of directors on an annual basis, across the landscape, everyone has the same concerns. How are we going to manage this? So the other day, I had this idea and thought about this idea of artificial business intelligence. So a couple of years ago, I started to write a book called Artificial Business Intelligence and decided halfway along the way that was kind of an outmoded concept. Books are kind of a boring thing to do these days, in all honesty. No offense to storyteller, but in my world, more business books I don't need. What we're seeing is a decline in long business books and an increase in short types of business information. So YouTube 20-minute, 30-minute content is now being replaced by YouTube Shorts. There's a reason TikTok is so popular. However, in the executive space, there's a trust factor. The information we're getting from those sources we cannot trust. We cannot trust AI. We cannot trust AI and AI influencers to give us content that is based on information that is culled from AI, which is already by its origination flawed. So take that idea slowly. The idea of creating micro-training, so essentially 6 to 13-minute micro-training lessons. Show of hands real quick. Who uses Notebook LM currently? All right, good. And I'm assuming if you're using Notebook LM, you've used the studio feature in Notebook LM and created your own podcast. This is essentially that idea. However, there's a key. Part of this is Notebook LM is a Google tool. And who do we not trust in AI? Big AI. We do not trust big tech. We do not want to give them more data. The thought of giving Google or any of the large providers my business model and my business plan and my business data is a terrible idea. I mean, just the concept of business alone. I wouldn't give it to my competitors. Why would I give it to somebody that I don't know? It doesn't make any sense at all. So using micro-training, using notebook-style research in a vetted community. Vetted community means that you are actually interviewed to be invited to the community. You have to have the credentials to be invited to the community, and you become authority inside the community using gamification to drive adoption. The app centers around the idea of people solving problems for people and executives helping executives. This type of business actually exists already. There are Vistage groups. There are lots of organizations across the country where executives gather in small circles and small trusted influencers, and we work with each other to help grow our businesses. That is something that's common. This is a digitization of that same concept. However, you can also use your micro-training for your teams. So as an executive, I already do this with Notebook LM. One of the reasons I'm using this or creating this idea is to help my teams have private spaces so we can talk about things that are secure. So literally using Open Notebook LM, which is the open source version of Notebook LM, as the framework, and then adding several other security elements, including confidential computing and trusted endpoint devices for encryption. We're going to create a small community for trusted information. The idea of ABI is very simple. It's instant actionable insight. So when I walk into a meeting, I want to know who's at that table. I want to know what's happening in their world. I want to know what I can help them with, and I know what other opportunities we can provide in that partnership. So this is really kind of the core idea. Again, Smart Factory. This is my primary company. Happy to be here. Thanks.